Well, like, so I'm sorry, I just had to make a comment on this article here, or this potential candidate for the Rainbow Unicorn Party, which is the SNP for anybody that's not familiar. SNP's Hollywood contender doesn't want to be seen as the brown MSP. She wants to represent everyone, despite the fact that she's essentially running on a platform that's predicated on her identity. Despite the fact it wasn't that long ago that it was in the news, she's talking about tackling racists. Teachers bid to become Scotland's first female Muslim MSP in action plan to tackle racists. This is what annoys me about these individuals, because on the one hand, they play to the strength of having an identity that's politicised and whatnot, but then in the next breath they say they want to represent everyone. Now, if it's a case of them representing everyone, then simply and surely a white individual or an ethnically Scottish person could represent everyone. But the fact that there is currently an ethnically Scottish person, presumably in the position that she's running for, that represents everyone, that's not good enough for this individual, because that individual is ethnically Scottish and she doesn't see herself. There is a double standard here. It's hypocrisy, the finest fucking order, because in the one breath, they want to be able to see themselves in Parliament with their in-group preference, but then in the next breath, they'll tell you they want to represent everyone. Well, a white person could do that, but that's not good enough. If we're all one, as I keep saying, because that's what they keep telling us, if we're all one, then this should not matter who is in that Parliament. But you want to go into that Parliament and you're complaining about the lack of representation, quote unquote. You want more diversity because you see too many ethnically Scottish people in a country that's majority ethnically Scottish for the time being. Not if you had anything to do with it, of course, or that thin little boot that you're standing next to in that photo. But for the time being, it's majority ethnically Scottish. But of course, that's not good enough. So I have to make comment on this because I'm so sick of this BS, this utter tripe that these people come out with. It's doublespeak, man. So, I mean, this one here, it's just, this came out on the 4th of October, and she's talking about how she's going to deal with the trolls and the racists on the internet, and I mean, internet trolls and racists, this is how pathetic these individuals are. It's the same with all of them, Diana, but even the SNP themselves, Joanna Cherry, talking about misogyny online. It's anonymous Twitter accounts, and even if it's not anonymous, it's still trolling. Might be a nasty comment, but at the end of the day, we're supposed to live in a country where we have freedom of speech. You can say what the fuck you want. However, as long as they don't turn their threatening manner or whatnot, or their abusive, nasty little comments into action, it shouldn't matter. But this is all they have to go on, because nothing actually happens that could be considered racist or eventful in their lives. So they cling on to little nasty comments that are said to them, whether that be via Twitter, whether that be via Facebook, or whatever it may be. That's how desperate they are, and they cling on to these anonymous abusive messages, these anonymous shit posters, and they call it racist. So, and this photo, by the way, like, are you fucking... So she was first called a Paki the day after turning 9 on September the 11th, 2001. And that's our fault. That's Scotland's fault for that, by the way. The whole world was presented with, as we all know, let's be honest, an inside job type of thing. But people weren't to know that at the exact time. Terror attack 3,000 miles away in America caused life to change abruptly, and her family's local mosque in Motherwell was firebombed a few weeks later. Well, look at all the nasty things that happen to Christians in the Muslim world. We won't talk about that because white man bad. I don't feel sorry for you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that things happen to you, but at the end of the day, like, how does that equate into you wanting to join Parliament to tackle the bigots and the racists? Anyway, she told one bigot who asked her to go home, "Babes, my husband, siblings and I were all born in Scotland. I'm already home, but you're not ethnically Scottish." And this goes back to the point that I made in the video yesterday, where they have eradicated the identity of a Scotsman and or a Scotswoman. They have essentially made us nothing more than somebody with a passport, a citizenship. It's kind of the old thing about anchor babies. You're still not Scottish. You're a Scottish citizen, yes, but you're not Scottish. This is the distinction that I continuously try to make. Goes in one ear and out the other. Anyway, I don't want to go through that too much. I want to get to the point of this this article here. I mean, I'm just so sick of this hypocrisy, this utter tripe that these people come out with. So she's hoping to be elected as the SNP candidate for Uddingston and Bells Hill MSP in the next year's Holyrood election, which is going to be an absolute shit show, by the way. I mean, this is the SNP selection battleground, according to Daily Record. Essentially, it's their candidate list. And I mean, if you scroll through this, I mean, the amount of the beams. Jesus Christ. Abdul Bastani. Oh, we know who that one is. That's that wee refugee boy. Osama Butta. Shamina Reham. Rosa Sali. We have There's a good Scottish name there, Morag. We've got, who else have we got? Briggy Smith, I don't know, he could be, I don't know. Ali Samati, yeah. Fatami Joji, that's that Aberdeen one. I've seen her on the TV complaining about the lack of the BAME representation. That's all they do. That's all they fucking do, by the way. Oh, Jesus. Qasim Hanif, Ali Salamati. Oh, my days. Ishrat Ahmed. Another Ishrat Ahmed. Oh, my days, man. Graham Anti-White Campbell, of course. We all know him. Janeet Ashraf. Deary me. It's looking good for the SNP. Anum Kwashir Javid. Nadia El Nakla. Oh, wow. Whatever that is. Anyway, I digress. So, the point of this video, this is the third time I've been distracted. So, sorry. After Uddingston and Bellsill's MSP Richard Lyle recently announced his retirement, the Rainbow Unicorn Party are due to select a new candidate to stand in next year's election. And it's down to 5 contenders, with the balloting currently open until Friday, November the 6th. One member hoping to succeed Richard is Anum Kushir Javid, a modern studies teacher who would become Scotland's first female MSP if elected. I was politically awoken on 9/11, when 9/11 happened, and Tony Blair invaded Iraq, so I wrote to him. I got a response, but I realised that if I wanted to make change, then I have to be actively engaged in politics. I was involved in the referendum. I've worked for parliamentarians. I teach politics in school. So it genuinely has been my life. I've experienced discussion with young people about why there has been a lack of representation. And here we go. So right off the bat, it starts off as she doesn't want to be seen as the brown MSP, yet she's talking about the lack of representation for people who just so happen to be brown. If that's not what you want to be known for, why are you talking about it? That's all these people do. Every single fucking day, irrespective of which one it is, they all do this. Their whole political motivation is predicated or based on their identity. Wow. So it says here, I've got that experience. So if I've got that experience, then I should consider putting myself forward to be a voice for people of colour, for teachers and for young people. So you get to be a voice specifically for people of colour. But there's not an individual that's standing in this election, as far as I'm aware, that's going to stand up for ethnic Scots. So why is it okay for them, but not for ethnic Scottish people to do the exact same fucking thing? Who's really oppressed here? Fair representation is an area Anum wants to improve for the better in society. Because filling our parliament full of the BAMEs, who want to represent their own, who want to speak on behalf of their own, is really going to make society better. You know, it might make your life better because you will be able to say and do as you please and get policies passed through and legislative proposals passed through that benefit your kin and your kind. At the detriment of us, may I add. After experiencing racial abuse herself, she knows the importance of education and messages of equality to make significant change. Now, how are you going to infiltrate the education system to supposedly make society better? You're going to teach children about the wonders of equality, equity, social justice, diversity and inclusion, and how the BAMEs have always been here, and we're all one, etc, etc. That's the only way that you, in theory, are going to be able to rectify the perils of racism in this day and age. No, essentially what you're trying to do is teach Scottish children to feel bad for blacks and feel bad for who they are. I've read the anti-racist education resources the same way I've read all the LGBT BS and all the feminist BS. I know what these people are doing. It's clear as day, man. And her bid is particularly unique, and that she's never been a woman MSP, or there has never been a woman MSP from a BAME background, which she feels makes the challenge twice as hard. You know, for somebody that doesn't want to be known as the brown MSP, why is the Daily Record targeting her off as the first female MSP, potentially? That's a Muslim. Anum added, if we look at the Rainbow Unicorn Parliament, it has to be reflective of Scottish society, and it's not right now. It's not right now. Now, as I said, I have said so many times before, in the 2011 census it was 2001. It might not be reflective of Glasgow, but as a whole, Scotland's pretty damn ethnically Scottish for the time being, give or take some Europeans and English and whatnot. But it's majority Scottish in the 80s, or it was last census. So, it's pretty reflective of society. It's not reflective of Glasgow. But even taking that to one side, this bullshit about It has to reflect society. So again, the browner, the blacker that Scotland becomes, you do realise that by this logic, means the Parliament, the police, etc., all have to follow suit. The people that you see behind the tills at Tesco's and Morrison's, more of them are going to have to be black, because it doesn't represent society if that is not the case. I'm sick of this crap. They are using all this namby-pamby material that they've been gifted by these fucking arseholes that call themselves progressives. They are exploiting the system to weasel their way into power. That's what they're doing. It's clear as day to me. It's not reflective of Scottish society. You mean my society, my country, my culture. You just happen to be born here. You're essentially a fucking visitor with a passport. How dare these people sit there all day, every day and complain that Parliament doesn't represent them? It's my fucking country, eh? There has to be change, she says, because there are 2 Muslim men and that only represents a small number of the community. That's 2 more than you'd have if we were racist. That's 2 more than there are whites in Pakistani Parliament, eh? I don't want to be seen as a brown MSP. I want to represent people no matter what ethnicity you are, so why can't a white person do that then? That's not good enough, because of underrepresentation. When I'm in class and I look at social inequality, looking at age, gender and race with women, we see a glass ceiling. Oh, here's the feminist shite again. What glass ceiling? What fucking glass ceiling is there for women? It's bollocks. It's absolute bollocks. I'm sick of this feminist crap, and I'm even more sick of this anti-racist twats. A barrier where you cannot progress in, that's shite. Well, why are you a teacher then? How did you become a teacher? Where you cannot progress in. But if you're a woman of colour, there's a concrete bar. Oh, there's just not, though, is there? There's just not. If that was the case, there would be no black teachers at all. You wouldn't have a job. So we need to make sure Parliament is representative as well as all other sectors. So we need to make Parliament more brown, so more people become teachers who happen to be brown. Makes sense. We are going to have young people of colour looking at Parliament, schools, charities and private companies and seeing themselves not reflecting that. So here we go again, this is ingrid preference shit, because we're told to ignore race, yet they're allowed to do so. So they get to complain that Parliament is too white. We can't complain that it's getting too brown. I'm not allowed, there's nobody in that Parliament that represents me. But they want people in there to represent them. It's not just a case of having somebody that's black and or brown in that Parliament, because they have to fit the bill in terms of political ideology. Just so happens here in Rainbow Unicorn Land, they're all left-wing wankers. Anyway, the point still stands. There are small steps being taken, but significant steps. But we still have a long way to go. Anum also wants to focus on mental health and job recovery from the non-existent virus. If she's chosen to stand next year's election and explain mental health and education is really important in a pandemic, bringing so many challenges for young people. And this is they keep pandering to young people especially. And what annoys me the most about it is it was the Scottish government that have destroyed the lives of young people, myself included. Granted, I just had a birthday the other week, so I technically no class as a young person anymore in the eyes of the Scottish government. But my life's been destroyed. So have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of young people around the country. And these fucking arseholes are going to dangle their wee carrot and say, vote for us and we'll make your life better. Just remember, folks, it was them that ruined your life in the first place, eh? I want to improve the availability of mental health and waiting times because the pandemic has had a massive impact on everyone. Yada, yada. And of course, I'll be advocating for an independent Scotland. The appetite is changing over the last 6 years with Brexit and COVID. There's been a lack of a four nations approach. I'm sick of them talking about independence. It's not independence. You're talking about rejoining Europe. It's 2 different things. Yeah. Scotland's voice has been ignored. There's Sturgeon's little trope. Scotland's voice has not been ignored. It's not been fucking ignored. The UK voted to leave the EU. Scotland's part of the UK. Simple as that. Nicola Sturgeon told her independent supporters to vote to remain if they wished independence, to which they did. Ever since then, she's ignored that vote, and she's essentially said that 62% represents Scotland wanting to remain in the EU. No, it doesn't. Why does nobody ever talk about that? Irrespective, I'm done. Peace.